yesterday at some point in time, like Brandon sent me a text telling me to check my email, so I'm like, okay, I guess I'll check my email. And then I check it, and there's this information on this talk going on at RISD by this artist called Rashad Newsome. And Brandon told me that, if I don't want to be lame or whatever, that that I should show up if I don't have anything better to do with my time, which I did. But I was like, I'll do it for the art. Because I read up a little bit about the artist before I got there, so he seemed cool. And then I got there, and funny enough, the first thing that happens when I walk into the auditorium is I just say, like, hi, how are you, to the first person who's there, like, not being aware of the fact that that's the artist that's going to walk up on the stage within, like, the next 10 minutes. So that was awkward. Because I was like, I wish I had known that that was actually Rashad, but whatever. I found out when he got on stage. And his artwork is really cool. It centers a lot around collage and performance, computer programming. And the reason why I loved it so much is because I relate to a lot of these artistic practices, and not only do I relate to those practices, but also he does this work revolving around communities which he's a part of that I'm also a part of. So he does a lot of work centering around the Black community and how to represent that in a way that gives Black people the agency to reclaim their identity with art that's sort of been lost sometime down along the line, and also
I got this. Before you go, how much do I sell these tickets for? $1.
And also he talked a lot about agency, so what gave him or didn't give him the right to do certain artistic pieces that he put out, and how a lot of the pieces that he sort of put his own twist on previously had already been somewhat lost down the line, right? Because a lot of his work, again, is based on older African art, and it's they sometimes know the general area that this artwork comes from, but they don't really know who the originator of this artwork is. So they don't know the original artist. They don't know how it made it to wherever they found it. It's usually a long line of stealing and auctions and stuff like that.
What we call appropriation.
So, yeah, exactly. A lot of appropriation. And I thought it was really cool because he was talking about how I thought it was cool to hear from a man who is a fine artist, who's also Black, who's also queer, and all these other things that I can relate to. Talk about how even himself as an artist recognizes that it's always a precarious situation to be in a fine art space in a Black body, because I don't know, debut, have you ever walked into the RISD Museum?
Once, a school trip.
For a school trip? Okay, what did everybody else around you look like that you saw at the museum, other than the class that you were with?
They was all white.
There you go. And so it's not necessarily explicit, but they look at you from the side. They're like, oh, he appreciates art. I feel that's always the reaction I get when I'm at the museum too. It's sort of a side eye. Not necessarily in a rude way, but just there's always some sort of reaction, because your body's in that space, you feel me? And so a lot of his artwork centers around that stuff too. So it was really cool.
So that's great. And the best thing about it is that you went. To me, that's the most important thing. I think I told you this all. I check events.brown.edu and events.risd.edu every day. There is more free programming at Brown University and RISD and other schools as well. They just happen to be the closest, and I think they have the highest quality and the most amount of programming. But you will see, I will send you emails. I guarantee you, within the 4 years that I know you now, there will definitely be an origami artist somewhere along the lines, and I will definitely send you an email about it. But I'm always thinking about you guys and trying to figure out, okay, what talk would match up to what it is you're about. And so Giselle and I talk a decent amount about things that she's interested in, so I have a decent idea of things that Giselle's interested in. The more you talk to me about what you're interested in, the more you talk to me about your business, the more I'll see these different things pop up and send them to you. And they're great. They're free. They usually sometimes even have some like free food at the end, which I'm not saying that's why we go to these things. I'm just saying it happens to be a perk. At like 6:30 at night, you just got to watch a great talk, and then you go out and there's some free food. Like, come on, it's a great day. It's a great way to spend the afternoon. So be on the lookout for those things. I will send them to you. Who here feels like, man, why didn't you put me on that talk? Is anyone like, why didn't you put me on that talk? I would have wanted to know about that. Good, I'm glad. I'm glad I didn't miss anybody on that. So if I do see something, I'm going to erase this. And so you all have your quote. Somebody read that quote for me.
An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Benjamin Franklin.
An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. So where do we see the word knowledge come up in this classroom? Where does knowledge, where does that fit into? It's part of a definition that we have. Do you have the skills?
Knowledge and resources.
Feasibility.
And network. So feasibility. So part of the definition of feasibility is knowledge. You're going to reflect, you're going to write about this. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. And today we're going to talk a lot about return on investment. We're going to talk about what interest is, what an investment is, what the idea of a return is. And it's going to line up very nicely with the fact that we just came back from where?
New York.
New York City, all in one piece. How amazing is that? Just so wonderful. Okay, so first order of business. You have a guest speaker on Friday, Kiara Butler. She's from Providence. She runs a company called Diversity Talks. So you're going to want to look that company up.
Right behind you are the seats, Brennan.
Oh. These are out of class form.
Oh, all right. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I thought it was.
Yeah.
Well,
So, yeah.
you guys
three
all know from your orientation, 3 questions for your guest speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Should be when you come in the door.
So she actually asked me, so you've got 3 questions that you want to develop, you want to know about our business, and she asked me to tell you that you should watch her TEDx talk from Providence. She did a TEDx Providence this year. It's interesting. My guess is she'll probably speak about similar things, and my guess is if she's asking you to watch this talk, she's going to talk about different things, so maybe it will be a good sort of introduction to what she's all about. But I would recommend you watch that. A lot of times, I wouldn't watch the talk because I would want that to be like new and fresh. But she was pretty adamant around this would be a really good primer, a really good introduction. So there's a TEDx talk, Kiara Butler. If you go onto TEDx Providence's website, you can find it. If you just Google her name, I'm sure it will come up as well. So that's the number
That's
one.
Monday, right?
And now, funny enough, I've been telling Giselle's been asking, where's our guest speaker on Monday? Where's our guest speaker on Monday? This one is going to be, again, right up Giselle's alley. That's that.
Can I just look that up before you define it because I don't trust it?
No. Contrarian. Anybody want to take a stab at it?
Someone that is still always looking at it from like maybe like a worse perspective, almost like kind of like a yin and yang. Because on the contrary, it's like looking at it from like the opposite point of view.
So looking at it from a worse perspective or an opposite perspective?
Opposite, yeah.
We don't have to test me. You don't have to look it up. Vashan's got it. Nailed it. Somebody that's looking at something from an opposite perspective. Now you're more than welcome. Please, I'd love to know Webster's dictionary, but Vashan's dictionary or definition is going to go well for me. So someone who is always looking, and I'm going to put at things in parentheses because my guess is Webster doesn't use that, at things from an alternate or really, or opposite perspective. Why I wrote that all out, I'm not really sure. So there's two reasons I want to bring up a contrarian today. How'd you know that? Because you said contrary, so you must have saw the root word in there. That was nice. I like that. Is that how you knew it, or had you heard that before?
No, yeah, the root word.
Yeah, so the root word of this is contrary. So on the contrary, on the flip side, here's another perspective. And so contrarian in the investing world is a line of philosophy that says if everybody's doing this thing, if everybody's investing this way, I'm going to say I'm going to invest the other way. I'm going to take a different viewpoint. I'm going to take a different tack. Hello, Chris. I'm going to take a different viewpoint, a different tack. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You've got to really understand why you're taking that opposite perspective and how you're actually going to invest in that opposite perspective. But then there's also just to say, and we'll talk more about what that means as an investment, but then there's also just the thing to say, I'm a contrarian. I'm always looking at this from the other viewpoint. So how might a contrarian play into the world of entrepreneurship? How as a contrarian might you be valuable, might your perspective be really valuable to the world of entrepreneurship, Liam?
Because you'd be able to look at something like the subtractive method and you'd be able to see what that could be without the most important thing. Because everybody else would still be looking at it as it was, but you'd be able to perceive it differently.
So you're going back to the SIT, systematic inventive thinking, going back to this idea of if we subtract out the most important thing, we look at what we have left over and we say, what could it be used for? So it's funny, when I think of a contrarian, I really do think of the principle of subtraction. It's one of the ones that I always go back to.
Yeah.
You're sort of taking out the most important thing and you're looking at it, what could it be? So there's that. I love that. What else?
It's different.
It's different. I mean, just at the base, it's different, right? It's just, so in business, we talk a lot about differentiation. Like, how do I make my product, my service, different than yours? Now, we can be doing the same thing. We could be providing the same service. But the question is how do I differentiate my service from yours? What makes me unique? So that's great. So there was an article in the newspaper. That's this thing that gets delivered to people's houses every day.
Oh my
It's
God.
made of paper. It's got black ink on it. You flip through the pages. Chris, I know it's crazy. You've probably never even seen one. It's amazing. So in the newspaper, which I was reading online, I was on the Providence Journal, and there was an article about a kid. It was actually kind of funny. I kept saying, this kid. And then my sister-in-law said, he's your age. And I looked at her last night and said, I'm a kid. Like, come on. I don't know what I'm a kid. Maybe not to you, but in my world, I think of a kid, and I'm a kid. So there's this kid, and he's 30 years old. And he went to Brown, and he's from Pawtucket. Went to Brown, studied, I think it was financial economics. Whatever his degree was, I read and I was like, probably should have studied that. That was a good degree, good for you. So I read that, and he went off, or rather he studied that and then went off to New York City, where we all just came back from, and worked for Goldman Sachs. Anybody familiar with Goldman Sachs?
It's a nice bank.
The one thing you need to know about Goldman Sachs is that they pay a lot of money. I mean, they pay a lot of money. They're really at the top of the top in the investment world. So he went to go work for Goldman Sachs for 6 years. My guess is he put away a decent amount of money as a young 20-year-old coming up in Goldman Sachs, and that allowed him to buy himself a little bit of freedom. And so he left Goldman Sachs after 6 years, and he started, and he became a comedy writer. Now, I don't know what that means, a comedy writer. I don't know if he was just writing funny things and trying to get them sold. Like, I don't know what going from a Goldman Sachs banker to a comedy writer means. People in his world were probably like, dude, really? And he was probably like, I'm all right. I worked for Goldman Sachs for 6 years. I got some money saved up. I can do this thing for me. This is what feels right for me. And he wrote a script. He wrote, or actually the script to a sketch comedy. And he started telling people this funny sketch comedy idea in which he said he started making fun of Tinder and all different types of dating apps that pair people together based on the things that they like. And he said he wrote a sketch comedy about pairing together people based on things they hate. And he called it Hater. And he made a dating app in this sketch comedy called Hater that pairs you with another person based on the things that you hate, not on the things that you like. Everybody's talking about here's what we like, here's the things I'm attracted to, and this one guy over here as a joke goes, yeah, I'm going to pair you on the things you hate. Because I will tell you, I hate Christmas music on the radio. Does anybody hate Christmas music on the radio? I know, I'm the only one. I can't wait to find, do you hate Christmas music? I can't stand it. I know, so, but if I could find another person that hated Christmas music, we could sit in the car together and hate all day. Like high haters, it would just be amazing, right? You just hate on things all day. Now, by the way, let's not get into the fact that I'm not sure that that's wonderful, but there is research that he found that said pairing people based off of mutual dislike can be just as powerful, if not more powerful, than pairing people based on things they like. So he told so many people about High Hater as this joke, and enough people looked at him and were like,
Why not?
dude, that's kind of a good idea. What are you doing? So he went on Shark Tank, and he got $250,000 from Mark Cuban. He got a German developer to develop this app. He has 750,000 active users. They're concentrated mostly in New York and Oslo. He's not sure why. That's in Norway. He's not sure why. He's got all these people in Norway. They're still trying to figure it out. But here's this guy, totally thinks the opposite way. And I read that, and I was just like, there's hope for all of us. Like, don't you feel hopeful? Like, wait, there's an idea so simple, so genius, so amazingly contrarian that hadn't been thought. Come on, who here thinks that that's like, who here thinks it's a good idea? Let's just show of hands. Who thinks it's a good idea?
As a skit, I want to watch that.
So who here thinks it's a good idea, but then also thinks like, it's a pretty simple idea. It's pretty simple. It's pretty easy to wrap your head around. So I found that to be pretty awesome. So Jody and I just had a meeting with Nancy. She runs the school, and she was talking to us about problems. She's like, what are the problems that kids in the class are solving? And so I said, it's still early. We haven't really gotten to the problem stuff yet. We've talked about entrepreneurs solve problems and all this sort of stuff. But we haven't really dug into the problems yet, the problems that you're going to be solving. But when I thought of this kid and the contrarian thing and starting Haters, which again, great name, by the way, too. It reminded me of an idea of a really simple problem. And the simple problem is, who here has ever watched National Geographic or watched anything to do with developing countries, and you ever saw that thing where there's a woman, mostly, because this is usually that role, of bringing back water to their village or some amount of food, and where do they carry the water or the food?
On their shoulders.
On their head. And this young woman from America went to a developing country. That's what people call third world countries. You don't really use that term anymore, just so we're all clear. A developing nation. So she went to a developing nation, saw all these women carrying gigantic jugs of water on her head, and she just goes, come on. Seriously? Like, do you think that feels good? Do you think it feels good to put 10 gallons of water on top of your neck and press your neck down? No. Why is everybody still doing it?
They don't know.
I don't know that they don't know. That's just what we do. That's just what we do here. That's how we transport water. It's how we've done it forever. And that's what we're thinking. So everybody's thinking one way, and somebody with a unique outside perspective who's not from there comes in and goes, yeah, I don't know if you should do that. Maybe there's a better way. So let's pause for a moment. Does anybody have a better way to transport water, knowing that you're walking 5 miles to a well, let's call it 3 miles, uphill both ways? Yeah, don't. 3 miles back, and you're carrying water. How might you reinvent that system?
Like a little wagon that can carry, like not carry, but drag it along.
Okay, a little wagon to carry it along. What does that wagon look like?
acceptable, like with like 4 wheels and something to put the water in.
Okay, so like a wagon, 4 wheels. So now we're talking about a wheel. All right, a wheel. I could get on board with that. I'm wondering why they don't have that. Right? Let's keep going.
I want to do like 1 wheel just because I can't imagine the ground there is like super smooth and easy to go over. So if you have 4 wheels on like 2 axes, it's just gonna be like really hard to drag.
Yep.
But if it's just 1 wheel and like almost like a cauldron kinda, and just a handle, like a regular wagon handle, it's a lot easier.
How would
It'll,
it
like, move
balance?
better. Yeah,
So
it'll,
like a-
bounce and stuff.
Like
but
a
if there's
wheelbarrow,
way-
kind of. Like a wheelbarrow is 1 wheel.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm asking,
Kinda.
which is fine. Maybe
Yeah.
you're saying like a
Just
wheelbarrow.
more designed to hold water.
Okay.
So the well is the only thing on top of the 3 Mile Hill is the well.
Yeah. The only thing I.
You run a stream downhill.
Yeah, right. I like that. Bring the water down. It's not on the hill, by the way. I was just making that up. If you've ever heard like one of your grandparents say, "I used to walk to school 3 miles uphill both ways," it's like an old joke. You know, it used to snow and we used to walk uphill both ways. One way's got to be downhill.
I do that.
Yeah, how? Go a different way. Go back the way you came from. Then it'll be downhill on the way back.
I live
But
uphill.
this is a good one. But let's think about the actual tool or the instrument. I liked where you were at. I think what you just said is great. But let's just say we're actually down there. The well's on the ground. So now we have a 4-wheel wagon and we've got water in it and we're pulling it. But then we say, okay, the terrain's going to be rocky. It's going to be really heavy. Maybe not. I got a wheelbarrow, but then maybe I'm unstable as I'm going. Anybody else?
I was just thinking of a classic, like, you take like a bamboo stick, just put 2 jugs, water on the side.
And carry it. Whew. I mean, I guess it's like a little bit helpful from your head, but now I just got shoulder problems. I only got 1 head that's going to hurt. Now I got 2 shoulders that are going to hurt, right? I'm with you though, right? I mean, it's an
Still
idea.
better than
It feels like it gets the pressure off my neck, and it seems like it distributes the weight over my shoulders. So it feels like it could be a better solution.
Do they have like animals, like horses or cattle?
Oh, yeah,
That's a
like
good
an ox.
question. So can I get an ox? My first pushback on that would be, my guess is yes. My guess is they're also very expensive. And so if you're walking 3 miles a day to go get water, I'm not sure that you have the money to buy an ox to pull this stuff back. Maybe you do. I don't know. But so get an animal.
I feel like people should volunteer their time to make the wells stretch more closer to like the villages, and so that it's more accessible to everybody who is closer.
I'm going to have you say that again because I was distracted, but for good reason.
Okay.
Say that again.
So I think people should volunteer their time to make the well go underground and come out that's closer to like the villages and make it more accessible to people who live closer.
So it reminds me of a quote that I heard from a woman at the BIF Business Innovation Factory 2 years ago. She said, don't build on a broken foundation. So like if you have an organization that's broken and has a bad foundation, don't try to change what's on top if you've still got a bad foundation. So you're kind of saying, look, I just think you're solving the wrong problem. Stop trying to build tools to get the water 3 miles away. Bring the water to you. I would say that yes, but my guess is, again, it's probably a question of money. So it's not that that's not a solution, but in the immediate future. Here's an idea that I think is so simple. I saw the picture in a magazine. I saw the picture, and I did read the article, but my initial reaction was, I don't even need to read the article to know how genius this is. Like, and you guys over there were getting close to it. But why don't you pass that picture around? There are 2 different pictures going around. If that's not the simplest, most genius thing I've ever seen, I don't. And this was invented by a young woman who traveled to that country and just happened to be a contrarian and said, because her perspective was different based off the fact that she wasn't from there. And she just looked at it and said, really? She made a wheel that gets filled with water, and then she just rolls the water wheel back. And guess what the name of it's called? Water wheel. Amazing. Like, are you kidding me? So between Hater, an app that pairs you on things that you don't like, and between a wheel that you fill with water and roll back home rather than I mean, you guys were on it, like the wheel, right? It's the oldest invention around. Don't quote me on that. As I understand it, the wheel is like one of the oldest inventions ever. And they just made a hollow wheel and they filled it with water and they put a little thing on it and they rolled it back. Man, that gives me hope.
There's no like term for that, like just like taking really simple technology and going to the developing countries. Like there's no like terminology for that.
That's a great question. I don't know. I really don't know. There's a good quote which is, necessity is the mother of all invention. When you need something, you will invent a solution, right? In some ways, that sort of flies in the face of what I just showed you. There is a lot of anecdotal meaning, storytelling, and then also I think there's probably data to support that developing countries, the people there are far more ingenious than us. They're hacking things together all the time based off of what's going on. So they're making these incredible things that we wouldn't even dream of, but they have to do it. They're just, it's you would do the same thing if you were in their position, right? We're all the same. We're going to make it better. But this is a good question of, I don't know. I don't know if there's a thing, if there's a term for that, right? But I will tell you that it comes back to viewing the world differently, but then also to Nancy's point, she solved the real problem. You look at that, and the first thing that you look at is, oh, I get it. Like, I get it. I get the problem that you're solving. Haters? I don't know how much of a problem that solves. It's an interesting take on, the problem is still the same. I can't find a date. Whether or not I use this dating app or this dating app, that's the thing. But it's just a different twist. So I wanted to share haters and that thing about problems. Let's take a moment. Who here is solving a problem with their business? At this point in time, who here feels like they've got a real problem that they're solving? Sean, what do you got? And I know it, but tell it to me out loud.
Knowledge of basic car needs for teen drivers.
State it to me in a full, complete sentence.
As a problem.
As a problem. State it, make a problem
The
statement.
problem is not enough teens know basic car needs to keep up with their car.
Okay. So I hear, and this is for everybody. So I hear not enough teens know about basic car needs. Okay, and? So I'm with you. I know where you're going, but there's actually no problem there. There's no consequence to that problem. Not enough. All right, and what's the problem with that, Sean?
As kids not knowing their car well enough could lead to like them wanting us to have to be older to get like means of driving. Like you know how they like they was talking about making it so you have to be like a year older before you can get your license or something like that.
Yep.
Kind of like dwell on that, like because they kind of feel like we don't know enough to be on the road, so you could just talk about basically like something else.
I hear what you're saying. So yeah, if we don't know enough, maybe if teenagers don't know enough about their cars, maybe they'll raise the driving age, and that would be bad for all you. It's a stretch. I see what you're doing, but what you are doing is on the right track, which is getting more specific. Brian, go ahead. You look eager to tell me this problem.
Teenagers don't know a lot about car mechanics. When they bring it to a mechanic will rip them off for an easy repair that they couldn't have.
So the number one fear I think that a lot of people fear around car, automotive, and maintenance is, I don't know anything about this, so I feel like I'm getting a bad deal. I feel like I'm getting ripped off. So the number one thing that you could play to could be, teens don't know a lot about car automotives, so they are at risk of spending too much at the repair shop, and, because this is there could be many layers to this problem.
It's dangerous.
Okay, so talk to me about the danger piece.
I mean, if your car breaks down in the middle of the highway and you have no clue how to fix it or what to do or who to call, you're stuck on the highway by yourself. And it can be very dangerous, or you could freeze in the middle of the highway and have no clue. Your car can overheat and blow up. I mean, there's a million things that we don't really know and could be really informative if we learned rather than just learning when we get there.
Another thing is some kids or some people in general, we all have met that person. When something breaks, they don't know how to fix it, but they're like, I got this.
Yep.
And then they put on their tire. They don't realize that they put on their tire wrong, so they get back on the road and then bloop.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely, right. And so there's this dangerous piece. Now, who here in this room at your ripe young ages feels on a day-to-day basis like, oh, if I do that, that's probably gonna be dangerous. Like, who here ever like looks at something like, I shouldn't do that, that's very dangerous, and my parents would not approve of this. I'm gonna walk the other way. How many times does that thought go through your head? Not a whole lot, I'm guessing. Like, you're not going through that. So danger might not be the number one scare thing among you all, but who cares about danger in your lives? Your parents, your guardians, whoever's taking care of you. Go ahead. Money. So but let me just make this one, and we're going to come back to this money. So you're talking about, look, it's a problem for teenagers. If we don't know what we're doing and we get in more accidents, they might one day say,
Can I change what I said?
I would love it.
Me and my teacher was talking about how like Donald Trump is trying to pass that law where you can't sue companies for like faulty, like say like if your airbag is like there's something wrong with it, you can't, and like it does go off when it's not supposed to, you can't sue the company for giving you the faulty. So that could be like what you kind of like just raising awareness on your car, because like that's like a real problem. It's like if your airbag's faulty, you don't know, and then boom, now you're dead.
Boom, now you're dead.
All right, you changed it. I like it. I'm gonna go back to your original point first, which is, and I get why you want to change it. I'm not sure exactly how much, but I hear your original point, which is if kids don't know stuff and they end up getting into more accidents or doing more dangerous things or changing a tire and the tire falls off, it could reflect poorly on less than 21-year-old drivers, and all of a sudden it's not 16 anymore, or rather under 18. So now it's 18 and above, right? And now you all don't get to drive anymore for a little bit of time. So there's that piece. That's what you're interested in. What Layla's talking about, the danger piece, is what the adults are interested in. And so it's really, this is a point where we can talk about that consumer-customer thing again. When you're solving a problem, you can solve a problem for two different groups, the consumer and the customer. Who's the customer?
Person who buys it.
The person paying for it. Who's the consumer?
The end user.
The person using it. So it might be that the person paying your car insurance isn't you. It might be that. And so they're going to be worried about a different thing, and you're probably not going to be all that worried about it. So let's go to the money. So there's the danger piece, there's the legal stuff, and there's some of the laws around it, and then there's money. Talk to me about money. And the original was, and then Brian's, the money piece as well, you could get ripped off.
It's like the quote says, like, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest, because, I mean, if you invest in that class, then you know how to maintain your car and how to fix your car so that you're not paying more than you need to for repairs. Like, you know what needs to be done, and some of it you could probably do yourself, but then you can also see, because I know, like, every time I go to get my car fixed, like, they definitely try to, like, squeeze as much money out of me as possible. So if I took your class, I'd know when they were doing that.
Yeah.
It's going to save a lot of money.
I really like that connection there, which is, so then there's these two play off of each other, which is, you're not going to sell me things I don't need, and I also know what the things that you're selling me should cost, right? And there's a lot of that feeling. I don't know who here is old enough to drive or even has a car. If you go to Jiffy Lube, you go there for an oil change, and you'll leave with a new engine. I mean, like, they'll pull out every single thing, and they'll be like, oh, this shouldn't look like that. And you'll be like, I don't know what it should look
pull
like.
out the engine and not
Yeah.
know how to put the engine
Yeah.
back together.
Yeah.
No,
So-
don't go to Jiffy Lube. I
But
hate
so
Jiffy
then there's
Lube.
also the thing where, say you mentioned your car overheats. If your car overheats and then your radiator's steaming, there's a little cap that you can pick up to release some of the pressure in there. If you do that and it's super hot, it's going to explode in your face, right? And you're going to, like, don't touch that thing. You might be like, oh, I'll just see what's under this car number A, or like lid number A. Like, but don't do that because you don't know. So I think you're right on. I think you've got all these different problems. And your question now is, which problem do I want to go after, and how do I want to communicate that? Money talks. We know that. So if we can somehow say, in the life of your car, you get 50 oil changes, that's 150,000 miles. That's maybe even more. 50, 60 oil changes at $30 a pop. We're talking $1,800, $2,000, I don't know, I'm not even doing the math right. Thousands of dollars in oil changes. If you could learn how to do your own simple oil change at your house, which is relatively simple, you could save yourself X amount of dollars. Maybe money is what gets me. Maybe parents are more concerned with the dangers. Somebody else. Who else is solving a problem? Who else has a problem? Well, we all have problems. But Brian, what do you got?
Stopping people from sweating through their dress-up shirts.
Okay, so people are sweating through their dress shirts. And you have actually already done a good job of talking about what the problems are there. Name some of them from your pitch.
Being in a high-stress situation.
So that's why it happens. So what's the problem of being in a high stress situation and sweating?
You look unprofessional and nervous.
You look unprofessional and nervous. I'll tell you one right now. I don't know about my shirt, but I'm being how high should I lift my arm? I've got a great idea. I can do it. Can I do it? Am I all right? I'm good. I've got a great idea, everybody. But I might not do that. I might be like, I have a decent idea. I have a pretty good idea that I want to tell you about, right? I might not be able to be my full animated self, right? It's a thing. It's a real thing. All right, another problem. Yes.
Clothing's kind of becoming like just wholesaling, buying like t-shirts wholesale and like printing a brand name that means nothing on them, which is an issue because it just kind of like floods the market and then you don't know what's what, but like everything seems to be more than it is, but nothing is.
Wow.
That kind of
Confucius.
yeah.
But let's stay with that for a second because who feels like that's a problem? Okay, good. Kevin, what's his problem? What's the problem you just described?
Well, from what I see is that nowadays people usually take regular clothing and just put a very high-end brand. It's like a simple thing right there and they're going to charge you like $50 more. And just like, it's not really that necessary. There's like no purpose for that small little thing to be there. Like, if you want to spend $50, it better be a sweater or a shirt that has like an amazing design on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your spokesman.
Yeah.
See how he used
I like that.
he was all there. He didn't care. What else? You have your hand up. What's up?
There's not much art to it. There's no thought. You're paying a lot for a name rather than if it's a black t-shirt with something, there's no thought process behind it. It's just a name.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
go
that's
ahead.
not necessarily what I was saying. I don't like paying a lot of money for clothes, but I understand it because some things, well, yeah, like obviously like big brands, they charge a lot because they can, and that's one thing. But the problem I'm trying to address is that like there's just like you go through your Instagram feed, you go through your Facebook feed, you go through your Twitter feed, you go through anything. You see like 30 new brands a day, and it's all the same thing. It's all somebody just orders a bunch of wholesale t-shirts, a bunch of hoodies. There's no special cut to them. It's just like plain. And then they just print their brand name on it. And it just, my bad. And it just doesn't it just doesn't have enough meaning that it's like everybody's trying to create a lifestyle brand, but none of them are lifestyles. It's just a word.
That's
like,
exactly
you know what I'm
where you're
saying?
coming from. It's like, say as far as like where, like, you know, there's like, as far as like back in the day for vintage clothing, it's like, it was the lifestyle that portrayed the clothing. So if you was in the urban areas where you was wearing the jumpsuits and the Nikes or the
It
Reeboks
means
and stuff,
something.
like that was your lifestyle. You like your clothes might have depicted how you live your everyday life.
Yeah.
Nowadays, kids just get V-Lone, kids just get Supreme because the next kid got it on.
Exactly.
And that's all it is.
Exactly.
It comes, oh, I'm gonna get this T-shirt because I know what this T-shirt means to everybody else. It don't mean nothing to me. Like,
Yeah.
and it's just like, oh, I got the Supreme shirt on, so you know I got this and I got that. But then again, what does it really mean? I know exactly what you're coming
Yeah.
from, and that's a problem I think about every day.
So
But
you-
Albeit I have a box logo
It's
on my
also the
laptop, but
customers.
ignore this.
It's like hypebeasts just come
Exactly.
in and ruin all of it. Like,
And it's hypebeasts that want to take, there's like hypebeasts that dress like hypebeasts and then hypebeasts that take it to the next level and think that their brand is supreme, they think their brand is beef, they think their brand is undercover, they think their brand is
But
badass,
that might
they
be
think their brand is this, they think it's that.
Buddha tag. I know
Like
people
Buddha
got
tag
Buddha
means
tags
something.
just like the Supreme. Like, cause it's just like at the end of the day, I know like why like cause just like at the end of the day, I don't know why so many kids like Supreme. Like kids brought a Supreme brick. It was just a brick that said Supreme on it,
Yeah.
and it was going crazy auctioning off for it.
Yeah.
That's like me getting this table and putting, or him getting Wu Tag table, and then them going 10 bands for the Wu Tag
Yeah.
table. Like, and it just becomes to the point where you're just so caught up in the brand and not the clothing. Like,
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I get that
I like this
problem,
conversation.
but I just feel like not a lot of people are gonna see it the way that, like,
Yeah, because
we
it's
all
all starts
Oh,
with the
yeah.
customers. Everybody
Well, when you
looks
say
like,
we all, who here feels as passionate as Mookie and Liam feel about this kind of like who here? All right, okay, great. I mean, this is all going above my head, right? I mean, I just.
right.
Great. Okay. I just don't buy it then. I don't know. What do you want from
Yeah.
me?
Brand is
But
a good
clearly
brand.
I'm out of it. I'm not
No,
in it.
and
So
it's not. It's more what I'm trying to do with. I won't get too deep into explaining. My
That's
brand
already too
at-
far gone.
at the moment because then I'm gonna.
Gone.
all right, just
That's
get to
out
it.
the
Come on,
window.
get to it. Don't preface it. Just
Now I
say it.
forget.
Wow.
Well, that's what happens when you talk
Okay.
about the other stuff. Wait, hold on. Somebody else jump in.
Oh,
Yeah, go
so
ahead. You got it.
It's less trying to be like, hey, like, don't do this, do that. More just like, look, like, take a look, like, this is what you can do. Like, this is what it can be.
Like,
This
here's
is
what,
what
This is
here's
so
what I like.
like-
It's like
Trying to set-
how I see it is like if you're gonna spend $500 on one T-shirt, it's like you could spend $500 on like your own creative sense and make clothing. That's like I always told myself, why would I go buy a $500 hoodie when I could like just make a hoodie for $10 that really means
That's
something.
what
to
I
me.
want to
Like,
do.
He got the Sons of Belichick hoodie on, and I know that hoodie probably means something to you, but it didn't cost $500. But you
Oh
still
no,
look
I just throw this on. This is
Oh.
like a little crappy
Well,
sweatshirt.
so-
like,
I don't know if-
Anybody need to get in then on this? Anybody?
Me. Hi.
You
everyone.
burn?
yeah,
you got something burning?
I
Go
got
ahead.
some stuff to say.
Okay, so I have a
Don't yawn.
Okay, so I have a question.
I'm ready.
So okay, so at what point does it go from being like just a hypey, whatever that is, because I don't know what that is, but okay, whatever that is. At what point does it transition from being a hypey to like an actual lifestyle brand? Like, where's that distinction?
Meaning.
And like meaning, okay, but then what gives it meaning? Like, what the hell is the meaning behind like the
What
Adidas
is the
sign?
meaning behind art? Any of the art you do, any of the art you love.
But that's so subjective because it's
Yeah.
like all based on the way that like the audience interprets it.
It is.
That's like it's
That's-
saying. That's like you saying,
yeah.
"Oh, I really like who painted Mona Lisa, Leonardo da Vinci." That's like really saying, "I really like Leonardo da Vinci," and then you being like, "Oh, I'm gonna go buy the Mona Lisa because it's the most known piece of art that he ever made."
Versus being
him
like-
going to get someone that's like, "Oh, I could tell that this is a Leonardo da Vinci piece that no one ever seen before." That's like he actually has the passion and the being. He's not just like, "Oh, I'm gonna get the Mona Lisa because everybody will know I have money because I got a Mona Lisa hanging on my wall."
And that's the thing
Well, you
too.
need
It's
something
like,
that people who really know about Leonardo da Vinci's
There's
work.
a huge culture behind it with Supreme. Supreme used to be a skate brand and it got all ruined because Hypebeast came around. So, say, I actually own Supreme. I like Supreme. I like the culture behind it. I like everything about Supreme. I like looked up about it. But there's people that buy Supreme just because
It says
famous
spring.
people have Supreme.
Yeah.
Just because it says Supreme, they don't know nothing about it. It's like coming in and ruining someone's culture. It's like you're just doing it because everyone else is doing it. You're just a follower. You're not trying to
Yeah.
stop.
I have to say, I've noticed this. I don't know what is going around with the school, but it's this type of backpack. I don't know what it is. It's a weird backpack.
The Met backpack. They
No,
gave
no,
it
no,
for
no,
free.
no, 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 not those. I use those. I will be a trendy with that one. All right, but my point being, I saw one person on the bus. He goes to the school. He has this backpack. I noticed it. I was like, all right, cool. And then I came into school the next day. I swear to God, at least half the school had the same exact backpack. It's him. Everyone, like, same color, same
What
thing.
backpack is this?
I don't. If it's I think it's a Nike one.
It better be the I would say it better be the Nike. Not Nike. It better be the bag with the USB port on it.
So let me-
Nah, not even that. It was
Let
just
me
some
bring
basic
this in
backpack.
for a
But like,
moment.
like I kind of just noticed it. It was like as soon as like one kid bought it, he was like, "Yo, check out this backpack." They were like, "Yo, that's a cool
But
backpack."
see,
The next day, came in with that.
Hold
backpack.
on, Liam. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Because we're going away, which
We are.
this is a good discussion. But so, I'm wondering, if you feel like me right now, I'm just kind of like, and I made this point already. Don't buy it. Buy things without name brands on them. Buy basics. Buy what? So that's my reasoning. And then there's some people who are just like, I don't really care about fashion one way or the other, so this conversation is not really for me. But what I like about it, there's something that you guys are talking about which you are, I think in some ways,
to address the problem? Is that what you want to get at?
yeah, I mean, I'm hearing problems.
Yeah.
I'm hearing a bunch of complaints, which are problems,
Yeah.
which are totally fine.
Haters.
But what we then need to do, and I think this is a really important thing, is take it to the next step, take it to the next level and say, what are the negative consequences from this? What is the problem of this? I still don't really know of this debate. Like what comes of this that is negative to you, to society, to whom? Let's go here, here, and here. We had 3 people.
So I think that the problem from all of that would be the creative process between people. There's no originality. It's just this one brand, and everybody's hyping over it, and they all are obsessed with it because it's got, a big, lots of money to it. Everybody's talking about it, which is sometimes okay, but nobody is venturing out and getting their own style anymore, which is a lot of the things that I've noticed lately. And I think that is a huge part of society, is that if you're not original and you don't have, your own style, and you start to lose yourself, because who you perceive yourself on the outside is kind of how you should be on the inside. And I think that would be probably my problem
Yep.
from all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna speak just on the same subject. It's kind of like it becomes at a point where, I know in the day where the teenage stress, anxiety, and depression is increasing. So it ties in exactly kids they're not in tune with themselves, and they don't know how to get in tune with themselves. So it's if everybody else is on Supreme's website trying to buy a T-shirt, I'm gonna get a Supreme T-shirt, because then when I look up on everybody else, it's gonna kind of make me feel above it, you're not to kind of help your own self-worth, and that's exactly what it is with the clothing.
Okay. I can buy that. I can get on board with that.
I agree with him. I feel like people back then used to buy Supreme because they were dressing up and coming up with their own style, but so much people are copying it now that people lose their style and they don't know. It kind of makes them sad that they lost it, or they don't know who they are at the end of the day anymore, because everyone's the same.
Yeah. So go ahead. Last point on this. Then
Like
we're
we were
gonna move
saying
on.
earlier, it's it's stepping into somebody's culture, and it's I don't want to go so far as to say it's cultural appropriation, because that it just doesn't seem okay to say, but a very that's, to me, that's my culture. I don't have anything else, but that's my it's all I'm into. So seeing stuff like that is really frustrating, and yeah.
Okay. So what's interesting, and I think the key word here that I've heard is subjective, right? When you get into the fashion world, all of this stuff becomes very subjective. And subjective means very personal. This is my viewpoint on this. And so in entrepreneurship and with problems, we've got to go beyond my subjective and then convert over to the objective. We've got to say, I can objectively observe a problem which many people are facing that manifests itself, that happens in the same way. So your subjective opinion on fashion to you isn't going to translate over into a big problem for the market necessarily. You might have the same subjective experience that a million other people have, and now you've got a great problem, right? Now you've got a great problem to solve. So there's good discussion. I'm still at a loss. Does anybody have, we're gonna do this real quick and then we're gonna move on. Did anybody, while this conversation was happening, go, I got an idea. I can solve these people's problem. I know what they're talking about, and here's an idea. Anybody?
Kind of. It was kind of
What was the thought?
It was kind of just just buy a plain white T-shirt. I mean, say you seen a Nike shirt that's it's super cool design or whatever, and you want something relatively close to that. Just go up to you or someone else, an artist or someone and be hey, could you draw this out for me, maybe, so I could put my own little thought process into it.
So this is kind of what Kevin was saying. Kevin was just I just want my own. I just want my own design. That's what I want, right? So there's this thing around people. It seems like everybody's got an idea or a design for a shirt. Is there a way that we can empower people to put their ideas on their shirt and do one-offs and one-ofs and not have to do this mass production thing? there's something to it. I think there are people in that space working with that. But this is a good one to say, let's stop the problem conversation, but there are problems which there are more meaningful and definable things to say. If you try to change a tire and you change it wrong, it will fall off and you will die. If you buy the wrong Supreme t-shirt and you walk in the next day and someone's wearing your Supreme t-shirt, you will not die, right? It doesn't mean to be life or death on any of these problems, but you've got to figure out what that problem is. Like, what's the actual pain point? What's the real thing that other people are feeling? And it's not to say that there's not something there, because there's very animated discussion. I'm just still not sure in that fashion world what that is. So that's problems, problems, problems. New York City. That was half the class. We're right on schedule. We're right on schedule. New York. Before we actually get to New York, we're going to take a quick intermission, and I'll see you back here at 11 o'clock. 5-minute break. 5-minute break, and then we're going to go into the second half of class. I want to hear about your New York City experience.
I figured.
And these 3 words are 100% completely banned. Not it was good, not it was fun, not it was cool. I know it was all of those things, I think. And the other thing that I want to hear from people first who I haven't heard from. You know who you are, I know who you are, I want to hear your voice. And it's going to be great for you because you're going to have a chance to say things that other people are going to eventually want to say. And I'm not going to allow people to repeat themselves and say the same things. So New York City, we went. It was an experience. It was fun, it was cool, it was good. I said it all for you. But what did you learn? What did you expect? What did you find? What was the big takeaway? What did you go home and think about, or maybe not think about? What would you do different next time? Talk to me about New York City. Talk to me, and specifically about the experience of the wholesale buying district, because I know it was hit or miss for some people. Most people came back with stuff, so there was some hit that happened. Like, there was something that you did. But I want to hear from people who I haven't heard from.
How was your experience?
What's that?
I got some really cool socks and
They were fun socks or
really,
cool socks?
really amazing socks.
All right. So you got some amazing socks. Tell me about why, the who, the what store. Did you bargain? Did you negotiate? What was the deal?
We just were looking for socks. We walked a couple blocks and couldn't find the store that she was looking for. So,
Carlos talking.
so yeah, they left us because it was more than 4 minutes to walk.
Okay.
And so after searching the streets, we found a store that sold socks, and we got some really fluffy socks for like, how much did we pay?
$8.
It was like $8 for a 12-pack. So we finessed, and yeah,
You finessed. What do you mean? Did you negotiate that price, or was that the price?
that was the price.
And
He
did you
wasn't
get?
willing to bargain at this point in the trip. It was just too late to be trying to like go to another
And they
store
were
and find
so
himself.
rude, like,
And then the guys were like speaking Spanish, like they thought I didn't speak Spanish. I was about to cuss them out.
they
but I
were
was
guat too. I was about to be like, mi gente, like, soup them up and whatnot. And then they gave me attitude, and I was like, oh.
Okay, so you got a little bit of attitude.
I got
You
a
bought
lot
some.
of
You got a lot of attitude. You guys, you saw one of like the language things. I told you the language thing could happen. You could use it to your advantage. All right, what else? This is like a soft. We bought some socks. Okay, you were in New York City.
Yep.
I want to hear from people who I haven't heard from. Yes, sir.
Okay, so some of the stuff over there were a bit expensive than usual.
Okay. Like what?
Like when me, Brian, and Carla went to this electronics store. Brian was looking at some headphones, and what was it, like $6-7?
It was like $6-7, but at Walmart they're like $2.
It was like $2, and it was like you could get something so cheap at Walmart than buying it at that type of store.
Like I could have got the same headphones that he was selling for $7 at Walmart for $2.
And did you ask if they were like if it was a package or?
No,
Was
it was just one pair of them.
That's interesting. I wouldn't. That's unexpected for me. I mean, generally, were you at Cowboy Electronics? That big place? Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. It's very possible. Sometimes you got to be careful. Sometimes you'll see the price and you'll think, oh, that's way too much, and not realize it's the price for 6 or the price for 12, right? Sometimes the prices are so low, but by the way, I have no idea what it was. So that's interesting. I'm glad you at least, if that was the case and they were $7 and $2, you walk away, right?
Yeah, maybe like prices like in New York may be different from Rhode Island. I'm not sure, but they probably think that we're really gullible. Just like, oh, a pair of headphones. It must be really good. Let's buy it.
Yeah.
One of the Power Surge battery packs are like $45. I'm like, that's a bit overpriced.
Yep. Yeah. So I wonder if you were in a wholesale store, right? You could have just been in a straight up electronics store, right? Where they weren't selling in wholesale.
Yeah.
What else?
I couldn't really
Hold on.
find them. Sorry.
It's okay. I know. You're eager. I get it. I like it.
I went to the cardboard store, like you said, like
Yep.
paper, and they had like a really good deal of like 10 packs, like one pack of 10 headphones and chargers, like for $1 each.
Yep.
Like each of the chargers, so it was $10, and then that was a good deal. And then I think I went to the same store that they went with the Guatemalan people. That was
Yep.
good. And like I started speaking Spanish to them and asking for directions because we were a little lost.
Yeah.
And then that was fun.
Did they warm up to you at all or no?
They were nice. Like
Yeah.
I just came up to them and be like, yo, like in Spanish, but like, can you give me directions? And they were like, yeah, just go straight on.
Okay.
So it was cool.
So you found some good deals, right? And they were very clear. Now, so do you feel like you're going to be able to resell these things? Do you feel like there's a demand for them? Do you feel like, and by the way, do you also feel like, what do you think about the quality for $1 headphones? Are you worried about the quality at all?
I already had somebody test that out and it wasn't that good of a quality. But
Yeah.
like I already sold, like I already have people that want to buy headphones.
Yep. How much you going to sell them for, do you know?
I was gonna sell them for, I'm gonna sell them for $3, the
Okay.
headphones, and then the chargers maybe for 10.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so also be careful, right? Because listen to your products, right? Like a lot of the headphones, they're not great. They're not like the worst. They work, but they're not the best. But you get what you pay for, right? So just know a lot of them look like Apple products. They have the white look to them and stuff. But don't sell them at that price because you're going to make a lot of unhappy people. I'm fine if I buy a pair of $3 headphones and they break or the whatever. I mean, it is. I know what I'm paying for, right? So just be careful with that too. All right. Who else haven't I heard from? Talk to me. Yeah.
I was scared for my purse's life.
You were scared for your purse's life. Did you hold on to it really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, I had Brian guard
I
me.
had to like walk behind her just in case someone's gonna like pocket her.
Okay. Hold on.
That's pretty funny.
So you were scared. How come you were scared? Had you been to New York before?
The only part of New York I've been to is the Bronx.
Okay. And so you were scared. Did you buy things?
I bought one thing,
What'd you buy?
bracelets.
Yeah. And what was it about those bracelets that made you want to buy them?
They were pretty.
They were pretty. Pretty for you? Pretty for who?
They were pretty for me, and I knew that there's people that I know would buy them.
Okay. So you had some people in mind. You had some customers in mind. You had like, if you could draw your customer out, you're like, I know who would wear these, who these would go well with. Okay. How many did you get?
I think it was 6.
Okay. Didn't you only spend like $8?
6.
6. Oh, $1 bracelet. Okay. Who else?
I mean, I learned that New York is a good place to visit, but not to live.
You're right.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about there. New York's a good place to visit, but not
She
to
wants
live.
to live.
Who here walked away saying, I want to live there? I want to live there. I want to live there. Anybody else feel like they wanted to live there?
Stinks way more than like there's trash on every corner. Like it's not
Yeah, the garbage bags are just like on the sidewalk.
It's not the
There's like one
cleanest.
trash can that's half full, but there's 8 bags of trash around it.
Yeah, I saw 4 trash cans. None of them had trash bags in them, but all the trash bags were in front of the trash cans.
You can smell the sewer too. It smells like
Oh my god.
trash.
That's a thing, by the way. I don't think they have garbage cans. They just put their garbage out in the big
They just,
see-through bags, by the way, too, so you're not throwing out other stuff, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
gross.
I think it's easier for the trash people to pick them up and not have to deal with it.
It definitely is.
Somebody, they must save X amount of minutes and they must save a lot of money. I'm sure they used trash barrels for a while, and then one day they went over and they started saving the city. With a city of 8.5 million people, get rid of the trash cans and all this stuff, probably saved them $28 million a year. Something crazy like
Yeah,
that.
they got like this portable charger, this station and stuff. That was
Oh yeah, did
Yeah,
anybody
that's
notice those?
awesome.
Yeah,
And those are Wi-Fi.
Then
Yeah,
the what's
yeah,
it called?
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it does Wi-Fi. Then the things across the street talks to you. Do not go now.
Well, yeah, they got those are new. Those Wi-Fi stations. They're starting to put Wi-Fi all around the city and portable charging stations. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. It's a good thing, and it's done by the city too. I don't even know if it's a business or what it is, but that was pretty interesting. That's very new. When we were in New York for the competition, I was talking to somebody from New York, and they were saying that these are they just popped up. Like one day they weren't there, and the next day they were there. What else?
I was with Kevin, Sean, Brian, Leah, Andre, and
Me.
yeah, Mara.
Wow.
And we were walking from, I think we were walking from Hershey's World, and we saw the news people. We were like, oh, something must be going on. And then we saw the police blocking up the street. We're like, okay, something's definitely going on. And then we saw emergency vehicles and all that stuff. And they're like, okay. And then we saw like SWAT people with like really big rifles.
Yeah, they had M16s.
And we're just like,
They had
okay. And then we saw like
truck.
armored trucks and everything, and we're just like, okay, we're not going this way.
okay the whole time.
I said, okay.
So by the way, what's the? I mean, yeah. So there's a big thing going on. What is that indicative of? I mean,
Oh, a lot of interesting stuff happens around.
yeah, I was gonna write the word interesting and cross it out, but I feel like that's a fair one. I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff always happening in New York City, right?
I mean, we got sideswiped.
Yeah, there was that.
We saw a singing cop.
A singing cop, like a singing dancing cop, or just a singing
I
cop?
was like singing and then walking around and doing some weird stuff with his hands and like ringing a bell and something.
Yeah, we have one of those in Providence too. We have like a dancing cop. I think they stole that from us.
His name's Tony.
What's that?
His name's Tony.
You know?
I don't know.
You know of. You know of. All right, so
Andre, did you go to New York?
Yeah.
What was, tell us about it.
It was, I got a lot of stuff that I feel like I could resell and make a lot of money off.
You guys got louder.
I got a lot of stuff that I feel like I could make money off of.
yeah, what are you most excited? What do you think is gonna sell the best?
The chargers I got and the phone cases I got.
Who here got chargers? Who here got headphones? Good. I'm glad. I'm glad we don't have like everybody saying that, because then we'd have a problem. That's good. Who here is very excited about what they bought? Who thinks they're gonna make a lot of money?
You and that dartboard, I know what you're thinking of.
I don't.
James, did you buy anything?
Yeah, I bought 3 things.
What'd you get?
I bought a pack of cozy socks, a pack of gloves, and 3 hats.
And 3 hats. And so you're gonna resell the hats without anything on them? Or you're gonna embroider? You got a plan for them?
That's what I was thinking about. I was gonna put stuff on them, maybe like patches or something. Yeah, but
Yep.
like the gloves, I think those are probably gonna go the fastest.
Are they the gloves that let you use your phone, or no?
No,
No.
Mookie got those.
Okay,
But
fair.
they came in like a pack of like 10 or 12, and they were like $6 or something.
Yeah.
So
So you could probably move them pretty quick, you think? Cool. Who here didn't spend any money? Want to talk to us about that? I'll tag you in now.
Yeah, the reason why is like a lot of the stuff that I saw was kind of just like overpriced. Like a lot of the stuff, like there was blankets. I was thinking about buying like fuzzy blankets. They were like $7 each, and I was like, if I go down here, I guaranteed I know I could find the same exact fuzzy blanket for like $3. And I was thinking about school supplies. I was like, you know what? I'm in a school. Why don't I sell school supplies? And then I went there, and I started looking at some of the stuff, and I was like, all right, this notebook's $5. There's the recycling center in Rhode Island where I could get the same exact notebook for like 75 cents. So like I wasn't really, when I thought about it, I was like, if I go back here, I'm gonna have to sell this for more, and not many people are gonna really buy it. So I ended up just like, I looked around, and I didn't really want to buy as much as like Gabriel wanted to go to the electronics store.
Yeah.
A lot of you guys went to the electronics store, so I was very like skeptical on most of the things that I was
Fair.
looking at.
So it's interesting. I mean, when I hear, and by the way, this is very possible. I wasn't there in all the stores. When I hear that a notebook is $5 versus what would be 75 cents here, you made the comment. I don't know if things are more expensive in New York. Things are way more expensive in New York. Food, everything. In the wholesale buying district, it really should be less than, because a lot of these prices should be in units of 10, lots of 10. So I wonder if it was $5 for one, and you guys can all read. So you mean but sometimes they might not write it there because it's just implied. You're in a wholesale store. These are wholesale prices. Ask us for how many or if there's a lot there. But I want to move on.
Did anyone negotiate their prices or
I
get a
tried
deal?
to, some guy didn't want to.
You tried. Some guy didn't want to.
Yeah, he was like, oh, we only wholesale and this and that. Gave me a bit of an attitude, so I stayed humble and just bought it instead of slamming it.
You negotiate.
Yeah, I did. But I have a question.
Yeah.
What does it mean when a store has a sign out the front that says retail ID is necessary?
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of those places require you to have a business ID, that you're a retailer, and so that you can get access to their wholesale prices, because they're not going to just sell to somebody that's buying them for personal use.
Why?
It's got to be some law. I mean, it's got to be some tax ID thing. I'm not exactly sure.
There was a store we walked into and they said like wholesale membership. We didn't know what that meant, so we
Yeah.
just like,
So think about BJ's or what's the other one in Rhode Island?
Costco.
Costco in Rhode Island?
Sam's.
Sam's Club, right? Those are wholesale. You have to buy a membership to go there and buy your stuff cheap. It's kind of the same principle, if that makes sense.
That make up for whatever you're buying.
And you have to buy large amounts, right? You can't go to BJ's usually and buy a can of soda. You can't even buy a 12-pack of soda.
Why don't we clear off the table? Why don't you put your stuff down? And why don't you all go into the other room and grab the bags that are there? They're all black bags, so we're going to have to find whose is whose and what's what. I think you'll be all right. But why don't you bring the stuff back in, and then let's put this stuff out on the table and look what we got. See the hall.
Did you want to take pictures or video while they were in the stores?
Yeah, I did.
Awesome.
M&M world.
Can you? No, I mean when you were shopping.
Don't bite it.
I've been using my teeth.
You're not going to that you what? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good idea on the house, right?
Like,
Print shop?
Socks?
You can even ask people what they want on it. Wow.
Are they all that? Well, that was.
I know, but really,
Mine just broke.
I'm gonna put these away for now. We'll talk, but it'll be better for everybody. You're good. Don't worry. You're good. You're good. You're good. What's that?
What'd you buy? You won't get a lot of them, but they're kind of small.
Did they
Yeah.
fall out? Different bag? I don't think anybody.
Same thing.
really,
You done with those?
That's annoying. Yeah, check to see if they fell out or. Thank you, debut.
Or you can put his logo on it. Come into the print shop. Like we have the equipment to do it. And if he doesn't want them, just ask people what they would like. And I sit over there to James and put what they want on them. Where's your stuff? Oh, that's right. You didn't mind. Wow.
No?
$50. I'll
They
give you that.
could have fallen out in the pan.
It wasn't like that. I tried.
Was it? You sure?
I'm sure. Wasn't my intention. Wasn't giving back the $50.
I actually raised my $50. Wow. Any idea what you're selling for?
Well, you won't have to pay those back.
Maybe that gray one.
That's
I'll
minimum.
be at the marketplace.
I don't know what else to say. Yeah, I don't know. All right.
Oh, so part of Sunday was the marketplace.
Yeah, so they're gonna.
Something else?
Yeah.
Somebody will watch their stuff. Wow. Look at you. stuff in the print shop. You can customize a lot of the textile
Yep.
stuff in the print shop.
So,
Wow.
return on investment. I'm sorry for all the people that love to talk that didn't get to talk about their New York experience. I'll talk to you after class about it. I had to tag some other folks in. Return on investment. What's it mean? What is it? Someone talk to me. What do you got?
How much you're getting compared to what you paid for.
How much you're getting compared to what you paid for it.
Yes.
Okay? I like that. I think
That
we
was
can.
very-
No. We can tighten that up a little bit. We can add a finer point to that. So how much you're getting compared to how much you paid.
How much money you're getting back on your investment.
How much money you're getting back on your investment. So how much profit is generated.
Gross profit?
It would be net. So, but this is even a little bit different. But just how much money you make, and really new money you make based on an investment. So let me explain that in a little bit more robust way.
And just about back up for a minute, because Brandon's going to get into an explanation of, and maybe you were going here already. You're going to get into the explanation of, because you're all going to do a business, businesses make money, you're going to sell this stuff. We're talking about profit, but what are some investments you make every day?
Yes.
Huh?
Gas.
Gas for your car? Do you invest in gas?
Well, I lied.
Time.
You invest in your education.
Time.
All right. So you time. Time is a big one. Energy.
What else?
Time. You ever go to a bad movie?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I want those 2 hours back of my life. I don't even care about the money at that point. I just want those 2 hours back. I can remake the money. I can't make up time. So I'm very cognizant. And Doc, the guy that founded the school, has a great thing he'll tell when he coaches new principals. Your schedule should match your goals. Because time's one thing you can't make it back up. So you should think about that. Your schedule should match your goals. What does your schedule look like throughout a day, a week, a weekend? Is it getting you where you want to go?
Yeah. And so it's interesting because it relates back to right here, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. So as you're thinking about that and this quote, know that there are not only monetary returns. We're talking about money returns, right? But there's lots of different returns out there. And the one that plays out day to day is you invest time in everything you do. You invest time to come to this school, to go to your internship, to do extended day. You invest time to do your hobbies, to do the things that you don't like, to do the things that you do like, right? So these are all investments. And there are ways to actually think about that return too. There's ways to think about what that's doing for you in terms of, hey, I put 2 hours into playing music, and for the rest of the day I feel I'm in a good mood. I don't know why, but I'm in a good mood. So I'm going to play music for 2 hours a day. I find that when I play music for an hour a day, I'm just in like an okay mood, right? So I guess I'm going to put another hour into that because it really matters to me, right? And those are, to use the word again, a little bit more subjective, but there are ways that we can measure the money. And so the money is what we're going to talk about today. And so here's the most basic formula for those of you. I told you to clear your stuff. Now get your notebook back out. But keep your stuff on the table because we are going to take notes.
Writing this down with you, Brandon.
Yeah. So there's really only two things at play, and this one, I'll let you write it down and then we'll talk about it. So I think rather than trying to explain this with no examples, let's use somebody's product to run this through. And I'm going to use the dartboard because it's going to allow me to not do any of the other math that we're going to learn in a little bit. Because you bought one dartboard, okay? So how much did that dartboard cost? $12.99. So for the sake of this activity, it cost $13, okay? So 13. That was the cost of the investment. That's your investment. I go out there and I invest in a car because I think I'm going to resell this car. Not the car that you drive every day, that's not an investment. The car that I'm buying to flip, that's an investment. I go and invest in a house that I think I'm going to sell. And by the way, you can invest in a house because it's it rises in value, hopefully. Sometimes it doesn't. So give me another example of something that you can invest your money into. Let's say a stock, or what else? What else could you buy? Some people in the fashion world.
You didn't see anything you wanted in New York, right? But what is something you would invest in?
Something, school supplies, definitely.
Okay.
So if you bought school supplies to flip in August, great. Give me an example of something in the fashion world, which generally we don't think about investments, but tell me about an investment in the fashion world.
Anything with a label on it.
Anything with a label on it, kinda, but there are better ones out there. What's that? Materials? Yeah, you can invest in materials, sure. But what about when there's, who said it?
People flip shoes.
People flip shoes all the time. Like Sneaker Junkies is that's a thing, right? There's a limited amount. I buy them. I know that if I get in this line and I pay $300, $400, I know I'm turning around and I'm going to sell this for $700 because there's a great amount of demand. So this is the cost of your investment. The investment is the dartboard, okay? So that appears in two places. 13 and 13. Now here's the question. We don't know this yet, so we're going to make an assumption. How much do you want to sell that dartboard for? $20. Let's say everything goes to plan for Gabriel and he sells it for $20. That's the total gain on the investment. That's a little confusing. Sometimes when I see this written out, it gets confusing for me. So this number right here is all of the money that I bring back. So sometimes if anybody's doing this mental math, they go, okay, well, it's $13 and he sells it for $20. That means he makes $7. 7 is the difference between what you're selling it for, 20.
They can put selling price there?
You can put selling price, sure. That's an easier one.
All these formulas, usually there's one in class that you guys are starting to notice, will all be on your business plan that you write. So it's good to have these in your notebook.
So 20 minus 13, and then let's just do that right here, which is $7. So you could stop right there and say the return on my investment was $7. But there's another piece of this. There's another thing we have to do. And the thing you have to do is you have to divide by the cost of the investment. And so someone do that math for me with your calculator, 7 divided by 13. Had you sold it for $21, oh, this is going to be great. No, it's not going to work. We're going to leave it as is. Someone's just going to get a calculator out for me and do 7 divided by 13. What do you got?
0.53846,154.
0. Point what?
538.
That's it. 538. There's one more piece to this equation, okay? This is what we do next. We multiply this by 100. And the reason we multiply this by 100 is because we're converting it into a percent. And what does percent mean? Who speaks Spanish? What's 100 in Spanish?
It's per 100.
Per 100, okay? Percent means of 100. So in order to convert this into a percentage, we're going to multiply this by 100. And we're going to get 53.8%. So there's two ways we can do this, and this was a quick run through, and we're going to do this with our stuff. But there's a few important things up on this board. The first is, hey, what's your return on investment? Well, I bought it for 13 and sold it for 20, so I had a $7 return on investment. Okay, so you could tell me that. That's an acceptable, hey, I got a $7 return on that investment. But we don't leave it there. We divide it by the cost of the investment. We divide our return by the cost of our investment. Why? Anybody have a hunch as to why that is? Does anything feel right up there? Anything seem like, I get that?
Probably because. Never mind.
What do you got?
If you're working with percentages, like in this case, it's a lot easier to tell how you're doing, because if it's a really low percentage, obviously you're doing bad. If it's upwards of 100, then you're at least you're at least breaking even.
So in this situation, no. So you're right, and it's percentages are really good to compare and contrast. And so I'll give you an example of, I've got a really great investment for me. I'm going to make this up, so bear with me. Follow along with me. I've got a really great investment. I'm going to erase this, and we're going to do this little game on the board right here. Yeah. So you just saw, potentially for the first time, how to do return on investment. If you don't understand, that would make sense to me, okay? So I'm not asking for mastery, understanding at this point. That was the first time ever. But here's what I want to do, which is why we're dividing, doing that last thing, and not going from, hey, I made $7 to, I had a 53% return on my money. I have a really great investment opportunity for Gensley. Hi, Gensley. How are you? How are you?
I'm good.
That's great. Gensley, I have a great investment opportunity for you. You could make $1,000. I'm actually going to say I can nearly guarantee, nothing's perfect, but I can nearly guarantee you're going to make $1,000. Return. So that's that top line. You're going to make $1,000 back. Would you like to invest in my company? You're going to make $1,000. I mean, this is a no-brainer to me. Do you want to invest? Louder. Nobody can hear you. Yes. Are you positive you want to invest? Does anybody want to ask a question? Be Gensley's investment advisor. Ricky, what question are you going to ask?
How much am I investing?
I'm going to give you time to counsel with your investment advisor, Ricky. And Ricky would like you to ask, how much do you have to invest? So Gensley, take your advisor's counsel and ask me the question.
How much will I have to invest?
Oh, that's a great question. I so wish you hadn't asked that. Because you have to invest $1 million. You have to, but you're going to make $1,000. It's not a big deal. You're going to make $1,000.
Small.
But so here we do this. So 1 million. I went down to $100 for you. $1 million and $1,000 is your total gain from the investment. And you had to invest $1 million to get that. All back over $1 million. Can somebody tell me my return on investment? I have a 10% on the board. Somebody want to get their calculator out and do that math for me? And how about everybody gets their calculator out and does that math for me? Or, by the way, if you want to do it on paper, but I'm fine with calculators in this world. You're making $1,000. I mean, this is a great investment.
0.001.
So give me the...
Point
10%.
0.10%, like after you multiply it by 100.
Just give me the...
0.001.
0.001. So now, multiply this by 100 for me. What do you get? Point. No, just 0.1. Yeah.
Your calculator will have that 0 before it, but if it's a 0 before the decimal point, it means nothing, right? Think of dollars. If you had a dollar sign and a 0.50, it would be 50 cents. So that 0 before a decimal point can mess people up sometimes, or you go to write it, it makes it a little more confusing. 0 before a decimal point don't mean anything, but the calculator is going to show it to you.
We're going to go, now that No, I forget. Whenever we do this lesson, now I remember. We're going to go over that more, but that's important what Joey just said. 0.1%. Not 1%, 0.1%. So that's your return on investment on that. But you're making $1,000. Here's a different scenario. Look here. Gensley just made $1,000 on an investment. Killing it. Leah, I'd like to offer you an investment opportunity of $100. Okay? You're going to make $100 on this investment opportunity. It's a really good opportunity. I mean, it's almost guaranteed good. Okay? $100. You can go buy whatever you want this Christmas. It's going to be great. Would you like to take my investment opportunity? How much do you have to invest? What a great question. Ricky, are you advising Leah? Or did she just learn from you? You have to invest $1,000. Okay? You have to invest $1,000. So if you were to sell this investment, you'd get $1,100 back. You'd make that $100. And you invested $1,000. $100 over $1,000. Anybody? Times 100. 10%.
So you also want to know like the time frame?
You should want to know the time frame. That's a great question. We're going to get to the time frame. That's a great question. In this situation, you made $100. If you came into this class and said, everybody, I just made $100 this weekend with a great investment, Gensley could look across that table and say, well, guess what, Leah? What would you say? This weekend I made how much?
$1,000.
You made $1,000. And all of a sudden, Gensley would be the hero. Wow, you made $100? That's amazing. You made $100? Wait a second, you made $1,000. And then all of a sudden I say, well, what was your return on investment? What did you have to risk? What did you have to risk? All of your investments could go south on this table. There is no guarantee that anybody's buying any of your stuff. None of it. I hope they buy it all. And I hope they buy it for more than the price you put on it. I hope we live in a fantasy world. But we don't. So this and this, these are risks. And so to Liam's point around being able to compare and contrast, if I tell you, well, I made a 10% return on my money, and you would come in and say, well, this weekend I made a 0.1% return on my money, all of a sudden, Leah, who made less money altogether, $100, seems like she made the better investment because I got a 10% return, which is much bigger than your measly 0.1% return. And so when we put it in percentages, it allows us to compare and contrast investments, right? So some people didn't all spend the same thing. You risked different amounts of money. You risked $6. If you make $6 and somebody else makes 50, or rather 10, but they had to risk all of their 50, and they only made $10, but you doubled your money, it seems like you had the better idea. You took less risk and doubled your money. So that's kind of what we're looking for in return on investment. It seems like I'm speaking a different language to most of you right now. Who feels like I'm speaking a language that is foreign to you? Like who here understands what I'm saying?
To a good extent.
To an extent, but not totally. Good. I can't imagine that you would understand this at first pass. I certainly did it. So now, what I want you to do, for one product, everybody pick one product category that they got. Not one individual thing, but if you bought 12 of the same thing, identify one product that's all the same for you that you're going to run this through on. We're going to use one of your items, and we're going to do one of these in class, okay? So identify an item. Pick which item of the same. If you bought 12 socks, you're going to use 12 socks. If you bought 12 gloves, 12 gloves. Yes?
If I do these cases...
Were they all the same price?
Yeah. Well, yeah. These were all the same price.
Then they're all the same case in my world, right? So you...
Yeah, but I'm selling these ones for more than these.
Then separate them out.
That's what I did.
Yep.
So these ones is what I meant to hold up before.
Okay.
It's 150% if I sell them for $10.
Okay, we're going to get there. We're going to go through this all together right now.
Oh,
yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. So pick your item. The first thing we need to do to figure this out is how many of that item do you have? Write that down. The quantity of that item. How many of that item do you have? I have 3 hats. I have 12 pairs of socks, 12 scarves. I had 12 phone cases. Now I have 9.
Be creative, Chris. You can be creative.
Or actually, yeah, someone lend, just look at the person next to you, to your right or your left. Dave, you've got more.
So how do I do this? Because I spent 30, but now I lost money.
Well, so why don't you do it as if you had them, and we'll figure that out. 3 of the phone cases. Okay. So the first thing I want to know is the quantity of your item. Who wants to volunteer their stuff other than you two? I'm so sorry. Yeah, James. Let's volunteer. So what do you got?
3 hats.
3 hats, okay? So James bought 3 hats. How much did you spend in total for those hats?
$9.
$9? So the total cost of those hats was $9. So the next thing I want you to do is write down what you spent in total for that particular bulk of that quantity of objects, right? So how much did you spend on your 12 cases? How much did you spend on your chargers, whatever you picked? Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to figure out the price per unit of each one of those objects. And so the way we would do that is how? Divide the total cost, which is $9, by how many you have, the quantity. And what do I get? $3 per hat. Let's do a quick gut check here. I'll give you like 30 seconds, and then I'm going to go around, and I'm going to ask everybody, tell me your object, tell me how many you bought, tell me how much you paid for all of them, and what your price per unit is. And before I do that, does anybody need help? Does anybody need help? Yeah.
Did you use that
Well
place,
done.
huh?
Yep. Okay, so your total price is 15.
Oh, yeah, but we're just on the, how much did you get?
Anybody else?
Anybody?
Raise your hand.
That's what we're asking for
Oh,
right
alright.
now, so stay present. What do you got?
I got like 2 gloves.
No, let me see your, for one. Chris, help him out. He's got other stuff. You can do this.
So I have to jump to about 100.
Nope, just how much you paid for each one. About 84 cents for those clothes. That's a good deal. Nice. Awesome, thanks. You got it? Yay? You had decided to go already,
Yep.
right? Alright, cool.
Okay. James, walk us through what's already on the board. And then we'll go right or left. So just tell us what you bought, how many, how much they cost per unit.
I bought 3 hats. They cost $9 altogether.
A little louder for me, sorry.
3 hats, $9 altogether, so they're $3 each.
So $3, price per unit was $3. You can pick which way.
Doesn't matter.
I bought 12 bracelets for $6.
Ooh, 12 bracelets, nice.
50 cents each.
50 cents each, great. Giselle.
So I bought a pack of 12 squishies, and they cost $6. So I paid 50 cents for each.
Okay, we got two 50-cent people right next to each other.
I'm
You guys can
curious
start
if
a.
I'm buying one for like $15, I heard. What? How much is scarf?
I still don't know yet.
That's okay. How much per scarf did you pay is the question. That's where we're at.
Roughly $3.85.
Did you get work?
Oh.
Five times
Great.
markup. Love that. Yes.
I bought 12 lipsticks for $18, all from 50 each.
$1.50 each. $1.50 for a lipstick. What do you got? Loud. Everybody loud for me.
I bought 12 gloves for $15, and the price per unit is $1.25.
Okay, great. Sean.
I bought 7 chargers for $30, and it's a little less than $4.30 each.
A little less than $4.30 each. Okay.
I got 12 cases for $2.50 each.
Okay.
I got like 2 scarves, and it's $50.
I can't hear you. I'm all the way on this side of the room.
Scarves, and each is $3.85.
$3.85. Okay.
I bought 4 hats for $12. Each was $3.
Okay.
$3 each.
I kind of just made something up. I said I got 10 gloves for $10, $1 each.
Okay.
I bought 4 hats. They were $12 in total, and they were $3 per hat.
Okay.
I bought a pack of 12 gloves for $10, and I paid for like 84 cents each.
Okay. 84 cents each.
I paid $1 for 100 socks. Roughly a penny each.
Roughly a penny each. Man, those are some good socks. Are those the socks you use when you're like trying on shoes at the shoe store that they give you? Okay.
Oh, me. I bought 2 gloves for $8 or $4 each.
Okay. So this one's a little tricky because if you buy gloves, don't you have to break up per glove?
Oh.
No. If you're selling the gloves together, the gloves stay together, right? But if those were individual gloves, right? If you were like selling them to Michael Jackson, he would only be buying one, so then you'd have to find like the other one. There'd have to be a right hand. I'm not even gonna make this joke. Who does anybody? Rhode Islanders, pizza strips. Does anybody eat pizza strips? You know what I'm talking about? Just like the strips with red sauce, no cheese. I like pizza strips. I'm a pretty big fan. But I only get the corners. Does anybody eat the corners?
That's me.
Love the corners. So yesterday I got a corner, and I was holding it, and it goes this way, and it was perfect because I was holding it in my right hand, and the crust was on this side. And I thought, when I go in there from now on, I'm only going to ask for right-handed pizza strips. Because if I had one on the left, I'd have to hold on the left. I think she's going to look at me like I'm crazy. No, I want the right-handed pizza strip. It's a thing.
I got 12 phone cases for $48, so they were $4 each.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had that on there. Your last one.
Yeah.
What do you got, Andre?
I got 2 phone cases for $20, so they were $10 each.
Okay, so now I'm going to pause for a second because I've heard a lot of I've heard some phone cases for $3, for $4. You paid $10. Let's see what you got. What's going on there? Is there anything different about these things?
He's got pop sockets.
All right, it comes with a pop socket. It's a little bit more. All right, I get that. I had a feeling because I could see that gold metallic stuff. Leah, what do you got?
I got 10 chargers for $10.
$1 a piece. Did you just get the cords, or does it have the cube?
Just the cord.
Just the cord. Okay, so 10 charging cords. How long?
I don't know.
Okay.
Like
Regular size. Okay. So you just did this to this point. You're going to do this on your own for every one of your items that you purchase. But before we do that, we got to keep going. So now we're going to find out the return on investment for each one of those units. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball. I want you to do two things for me. I want your perfect world return on investment, and I want your real world return on investment. So what do I mean by that? If in your ideal world you could sell these things for like a reasonable price, so you're balancing a little bit of like fantasy world, but like what would be the ideal price that you think is actually a little bit too high that you would love to go out there and test? And then I want to know the real world. I'm pretty sure that this is what these are going to sell for. But before we do that, let's keep working with James's stuff. So what we know from James is that the cost per hat is $3. So that appears in these two places. What we don't know is what is your perfect world selling price? What would you love to sell one of your hats for? Say you do, actually, you just go ahead. What's your perfect world price?
Maybe like $30 a hat.
$30 a hat, right? I mean, what an amazing day that would be, right? So $30. So here's what you're going to do. This is your return on investment formula. You're going to plug in what you hope to sell this for. You're going to subtract out what it cost you. So $27 divided by 3. I believe that's 9. Does anybody want to help me there? What do you think? 9? 9. So the answer is 9. Now I'm going to multiply 9 by 100. Still, don't forget about that. And in James's very perfect world, I think it sounds like a really great world, that's a 900% return on his investment. Somebody state that for me in a different way.
That's great.
That's great. So I could say I made $27. I made $27 return. I could say I made a 900% return. Or I could say what? If I sell it for 3, I'm sorry, if I bought it for 3 and I sold it for 6, what did I do with my money? I doubled my money. What did I do with my money? I don't know that word for that. But I got my money back 9 times. That's what I just want you to be able to see. The investment that I did, $3, I got that investment back 9 times. But here's the thing. This is a big deal. So stay with me. I'm going to struggle to explain this in a way that is perfectly understandable. So work with me. You got your money back 9 times. That means I got my money back 9 times while also repaying my original $3 investment. We subtracted out the original investment. We don't get to say I got 10 times my money because, oh, I made 30, I sold it for $30. I got 10 times my money. Well, no, you didn't get 10 times your money. You got 9 times your money because you had that $3 already. So maybe that's it didn't seem that complicated when I just explained it. But you've got to remember you're taking out your original investment. That's what's happening here. This is a big deal. I'm taking out that. You already had that money. You don't get to count that as new money. So 900% return. All right, James, give me what you really think those hats are going to sell for.
Just blank or like what stuff on them?
So that's what I didn't want to do. It's a great question because now if you put stuff on that hat, what happens to the cost of your investment?
Goes up.
It goes up. It goes up in 2 ways. What are the ways that it goes up? Why does the cost of that go up?
I'll have to pay to put stuff on them.
So you have to pay to put stuff on them as in like the materials? So you need the materials, and then what else?
I have to actually put it on there.
You have to actually put it on. So there's some labor involved, right? So we're going to get to that. For the purposes of right now, we're not going to make up a bunch of math. Let's just say you're selling those as blank hats. What do you really, I mean, 30 bucks would be cool, but I doubt it. I can go to the Army Navy store and buy a blank hat right now, which I do all the time. They look just like this. Actually, I think they are these. Wow. For $8, I would totally buy these hats. So I buy them for $8. You tell me whatever.
Probably say like 10.
I'd say 10, right? Let's go with 10. So in this world, perfect world scenario, or in real world, 10 minus 3, 7 divided by 3, what's that? 2.33 times 100. 233% return on the money. I want everybody to do this. I want you to find your return on investment for your first unit, and then we're going to share them out. And we're going to compare and contrast, and you're going to see what I'm talking about versus when we talk about dollars and when we talk about percents. So run that through. I want your perfect world, and I want your real world. And I hope for your perfect world, people. I hope for your perfect world. Yes. And raise your hand if you need help, because you should probably need help on this. Yep.
Don't we all?
Divided by 1.25. Yep. Exactly.
So it's my perfect world, and this is my real world.
This is perfect world? Oh, this is real world.
That's perfect world.
Oh. Mm-hmm. And where do you sell? You think you're going to sell them for 6? Great. That's great. Who needs a hand? Anybody? Who wants me to check their work? Perfect world, 20 bucks. 16, 400, yep. And this is, where's real world?
What we're subtracting from the price that we're selling it at is like how much each individual thing costs, or how much the thing costs altogether.
11 divided by 4, I don't know, so I'll take your word for it. Yeah, cool. Looks good to me. That's right. Yep.
Like this $3 would pay for one hat.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect world. 35 minus 10.
So,
250%. Great. Perfect.
You got the hats
Great.
pricing in me now, so every time I went to go write my price, I keep writing 3%.
Yep. That is a perfect world.
well, I don't know if it's price per unit or price per
Yep.
whole thing.
Perfect. Great.
I think
Yes.
it's price per unit because you're only doing the cost of one item.
It's a good day for me.
Oh, wait. How much did you buy these for?
$3.
What's that?
I buy those hats for $8 a piece. I've been searching for those. Man, I love that. Where'd you get these? I've been looking for these hats, man. Man, I'm buying these all. I'll buy these all for $8 off you, because that's what I would pay the other guy.
Since you're my mentor, it's $5.
No, I'll do the real price.
I say I'll see you after the holiday fair, depending on what people out there are buying for.
I bought these for 10.
10 minus.
And they're 12.
Okay, so
Then you just
this
multiply it
is 4,
times.
so then that's 3 divided by, yep, so now 3 divided by 4 is what?
2,000. I'm so confused.
Okay. 0.75 So, my people, anybody else need me? Anybody else? Okay. Who here thinks in their real world scenario, I want you to look at your real world ROI. Who thinks that they have the best ROI in the class?
In the real world?
In the real world situation, who here believes I am confident that I have the best ROI in the class?
Like feasibly so, or just like?
Yeah, well, that should have been your feasible situation. Your real world, you put a feasible price on it, and you got what you think is going to be the highest in the class. Anybody want to volunteer and say, it's me? I got the best investment.
I'm just going to guess that it's Gensley. I don't know if it's going
Now remember, by the way, this is totally hypothetical. Your real world might actually not be the real world at all. You might have been overconfident. So none of this is played out yet. This is just our projections.
I'm just gonna go.
Yeah,
So wait, who thinks? Who thinks they have the absolute highest one? I got some hands here, hands here. All right. What do you got? You got those for free? All right, well then that's a pretty high ROI no matter what. So let's take those out. Based off of the calculation that you did for your real world product, who here thinks, what's your ROI?
275%.
So I have a 275% ROI on the board. Can anybody beat it?
Real world?
Real world ROI. Can anybody beat a return on investment of 275?
I got 495.
I got a 495% return on investment on the board. Does anybody feel as though they can beat that? We have a 900% ROI on the board. Now here's what I'm going to do. I know that you have the highest one because I've gone around and looked at everybody. I might challenge your real world assumption. Let's do this. This is going to be good.
That's what it gave me?
Hold up your product.
Yeah, okay.
I need everybody's attention because I need your input.
So, 'cause I
So your product is a phone charger, iPhone charger cord. I'm going to go around the room really quickly and ask everybody. You should write down these answers as they say them out because there's going to be great market research for you. How much would you pay for an iPhone cord? If you don't have an iPhone, say pass, or just tell me. Yes, Samsung too. So just tell me, what would you pay for a charging cord, no box, no cube? $1.
$5. At the most, $5.
I got a 1, 5, 5. Brian, how much would you pay for an iPhone charging cord? No cube, nothing, just the cord. 5.
Yeah, look around there.
Around there, what? Give me a number.
Like
5. 5?
Like 8.
8.
5.
$1.50. $1.50.
3.
5.
Because it's regular size, right? Yeah. It's not like, yeah.
So add all those up and divide them by the number of responses, and you're going to find your average price, which is going to be somewhere around 5 based off of what I'm hearing, which is double than what you projected, right? Even in your real world scenario, you had it at 10. I think that's a little high. I'm skeptical, but I'm very encouraged by all the 5s that were answered. I don't know if they were just piggybacking off of each other, but that's a 400% return, which is pretty damn good. So $4.95 on the board. All right. That's what we're working with. This one here, this one here. Now I want to go around and I want to hear 3 things. Okay? I want to hear 3 things from you. What you're selling, how much return in dollars per unit you make, and what your percentage return is. So you have that answer, right? I mean, that answer is already in front of you. How much you're making in terms of dollars every time you sell it. That's your top line of the equation when you did selling price minus cost. Let's say that was 10, 3, that was 7. That's how much you're making in dollars, actual dollars and cents, and then I want you to tell me how much you're making as a percentage. Does that make sense? No. And here's what we're going to do. Did I hear a no?
Yeah. Yes, you did.
I hear a no? Okay. So, look at your equation, and it's set up like this. Selling price minus cost over cost. What I want to know is what do you get here when you subtract your selling price and your cost per unit. Whatever you get here, I want to know this number. I want to know in terms of dollars and cents what you're making. And then I want to know your return on investment as a percentage. So when you run that calculation all the way through and you multiply it by 100 and you've got your percent, that's what I want to know. Because I think what we'll see is something interesting. So let's start with Vashan. So Vashan, tell me dollars and tell me percent. Yeah, how much do you make per unit in dollars? How much do you make in percent?
I'm making $3.
Are we passing it? Are we done? Oh, I'm way done. Sorry, guys. You guys gotta go eat. That's my fault. That's my fault. You got.
Before you leave though, in your journal, and we're gonna stand at the door and see it, because we want you to throw all your stuff back in your bag before you leave. You're not gonna take it in and out. At this point, write down in your journal what you bought, how many, and what you paid for each quantity of whatever you bought. If it's one dartboard or if it's 20 socks,